Welcome back, focused learners. Okay, today we are jumping right into a seriously fascinating explainer. We're going to completely reverse engineer an incredible, meticulously documented journey. We're looking at the exact blueprint of how the original creator of this method dropped from 15.6% to a really shrouded 11.6% body fat in exactly 60 days. And honestly, the most impressive part? They managed to cut their stubborn belly fat totally in half without absolutely tanking their metabolism or suffering through one of those miserable weight gain rebounds. We're breaking down exactly how they did it, step by step, so you can finally master the real science behind sustainable fat loss.
Okay, let's dive into this. 20.7%. That specific figure actually comes from one of the largest body composition analyses ever conducted in the US, which studied over 9,000 men. 20.7% is the statistical average for body fat. But here is where it gets incredibly eye-opening. According to this data, a staggering 97% of men will never even reach a lean 15% body fat in their entire lives. That lean, athletic baseline you think is normal? It's statistically incredibly rare.
And it gets even crazier when we look at the extremes. Just think about this statistical reality for a second. You are actually far more likely to build a net worth of $1 million than you are to naturally walk around with that elite 8% body fat physique that is constantly plastered all over social media. Less than 0.1% of guys can naturally attain and actually maintain that.
Which brings us to Section 1, the social media fitness illusion. Time to dismantle some of that toxic perfection.
You know the drill. You open Instagram or TikTok, and it feels like literally everyone on Earth is walking around with perfectly visible abs 365 days a year, right? Well, what those perfectly curated influencer highlight reels aren't showing you is the hidden biological toll. Silently, this illusion destroys millions of people's motivation. Getting to 10% body fat or below demands a heavy, heavy cost. Your body actively fights you. There's a famous nutrition study where participants were pushed to extremely low body fat levels, and the results were frankly alarming. These guys became totally obsessed with food. They fixated on it for hours. Some literally chewed gum all day long just to cope with the maddening psychological drive to eat. When you push your body fat too low, your daily energy absolutely plummets. Your metabolism dangerously drops to conserve fuel, and your hunger becomes pretty much unbearable.
So, the crucial point is, you absolutely do not need 8% body fat to look great and actually be healthy. The true sweet spot for building a fantastic physique while still enjoying your life sits comfortably right between 12% and 20%. By setting a realistic, biologically sound goal, you prevent yourself from just setting up an inevitable failure.
All right, let's move into Section 2, the aggressive start strategy. This is a very counterintuitive approach.
So most fitness experts tell you to start slow, right? Cut a few calories, maybe add a little walking, and just sort of ramp it up over months. But our creator found that to be a total trap. Let's look at this timeline to see why. In week 1, you have a high amount of body fat to lose, your energy is fully topped up, and your motivation is absolutely through the roof. By week 3, you're starting to see visible results in the mirror. But week 5, that is when extreme hunger and fatigue inevitably set in because your body is finally catching on and fighting back. If you start slow, you are literally saving the hardest part of your diet for week 5, right when your body and mind are at their absolute weakest. Instead, you've got to capitalize on your initial high motivation and your body fat reserves by starting aggressively when your body is most adaptable.
Because, look, when week 5 finally hits and those massive cravings wash over you, you need to be able to ease off the gas pedal a bit. Fat loss is not a test of sheer willpower, it's about engineering a sustainable calorie deficit. Recognizing exactly when to push hard and when to pull back and rest is what completely separates successful lasting fat loss from inevitable burnout.
Moving right along to Section 3, Smart Nutrition and Protein. Let's talk about how to make the diet effortless while protecting your body.
And this brilliantly illustrates our next crucial step. We call it muscle insurance. See, when you're in a calorie deficit, your body's desperately searching for energy, and it will happily burn your hard-earned muscle tissue if you let it. If you skip this step, that's exactly how people end up with that dreaded skinny fat look. They lose the weight, sure, but they just look smaller and weaker. By having a palm-sized portion of high-quality protein at every single meal, chicken, fish, Greek yogurt, you provide a biological shield. High protein keeps you incredibly full, drastically cuts down on hunger pangs, and explicitly tells your body to burn the fat, not the muscle.
But protein is really only half the battle. The other half is avoiding the restriction trap. Instead of completely banning all your carbs or banning all your fats, we look at micro-adjustments. Going from 3 whole eggs to just 1 whole egg and 2 egg whites. smashing half an avocado on your toast instead of a whole one, scooping just a slightly smaller bowl of rice, and bulking it up with some extra veggies. These are tiny, but these almost unnoticeable micro-adjustments quietly shave hundreds of calories off your daily intake without making it feel like a restrictive diet. Psychologically, it just feels like your normal everyday life.
Let's shift focus to the gym for Section 4, reevaluating cardio and exercise.
Okay, we need to do some serious myth-busting here, because there are massive misconceptions out there about what exercise actually does and how many calories it really burns. Weight training signals the body to keep the muscle. It is not a primary tool for burning calories. Actually, scratch that. It's terrible for burning calories. The biggest mistake people make during week 4 or 5 when they feel super tired is reducing their weight training volume. When you stop lifting heavy, you remove the biological signal that tells your body, hey, we still need this muscle. Never use weights just to sweat. Use them to tell your body what tissue is absolutely essential to keep.
And then we run right into the cardio trap. Running on a treadmill for an hour definitely burns calories, but your body is sneaky. It compensates by making you subconsciously sit and rest for the entire remainder of the day, pretty much neutralizing the effect. The smart alternative is NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. By simply doubling your daily steps from a baseline of, say, 4,000 up to 8,000, you sustainably burn an extra 50 to 70 calories per 1,000 steps. And you do that day in and day out without triggering the exhaustion and massive hunger spikes that intense cardio always causes.
Which brings us to the most dangerous part of any diet. Section 5, the weekend trap and planned indulgence.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how it fixes the weekend. You can be absolutely perfect Monday through Friday, but one massive family dinner or a couple of restaurants on Saturday can mathematically wipe out your entire week of hard-earned progress. It throws you into a terrible cycle of guilt. The solution is planned indulgence. Let me be clear. This is not an all-out cheat day where you just eat everything in sight. Instead, it's a calculated buffer. You purposefully build a slight calorie cushion into your weekly plan. That way, when Saturday rolls around, you can enjoy your favorite foods with your friends and family entirely guilt-free. Because the indulgence is literally part of the mathematical plan, the psychological guilt cycle is completely broken, keeping you consistent week after week.
Finally, we reach the final boss of fat loss. Section 6, building a sustainable system. This is about what happens after you hit your goal.
So you look in the mirror, you're at that sweet 11.6% body fat. You're done, right? No way. The harsh reality is that 80% of people who lose significant weight rebound and regain it. Only 20% manage to maintain it. And I really need you to understand this. Rebounding is not about laziness. As you lose weight, your body becomes lighter, which means it requires fewer calories just to exist. Your metabolism actually adapts downward. Rebounding isn't a lack of willpower. It's literally your biology actively working against you, trying to pull you back to where you started.
Which is exactly why getting lean cannot be treated as an event or just a 60-day project. It has to be a transition into a permanent system. The rules don't suddenly change once you hit your goal weight. You still prioritize your daily protein, you maintain those easy micro-adjustments, you keep signaling muscle retention with weight training, you hit your 8,000 steps, and you definitely keep using planned indulgence. This system has to become so deeply ingrained that it functions flawlessly even when your motivation fades entirely during a really stressful week at work or over the busy holidays.
Because ultimately, consistency always beats perfection. Nobody is going to care, 10 years from now, what exact decimal point of body fat you reached for 3 weeks in the summer. What actually matters is building a lifestyle that gives you lifelong health, vitality, and just effortless confidence in your own skin.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with one final question to really think about. Are you just chasing a temporary percentage doomed to suffer and eventually rebound? Or are you ready to finally shift your mindset and build a permanent system? The choice is entirely yours. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive, Focus Learners, and I will see you in the next one.